Hello again, welcome back to All Dare Games, and today we will be returning to Spaceflight Simulator. And in this video, we will be completing the hardest challenge in the game, the Venus Return Mission. This mission is so difficult because you not only have to get to Venus, but you also have to survive re-entry and get back to Earth. So join me today as I attempt to complete this very difficult mission. Bro, it's gonna tilt, it's gonna capsize. Hold on, please, stabilize, please, stabilize. Yes! And touchdown! Okay, so just before we start actually creating the rocket, I wanted to clarify that I will use cheats, but the only cheat I will use is infinite build area because I'm fairly certain that this challenge is impossible if you don't use infinite build area. So, firstly, I'm going to try and make a rocket that can go from Earth to Venus, and then we'll try and make another rocket around that rocket that will get that rocket to Venus, if that makes sense. I'll better if I just show you what I'm gonna do. And okay, so here is our first stage of the rocket. This is supposed to get us just back to Earth from a Venus orbit, and then I'm going to build the second stage of the going back from Venus phase. Okay, and now we're done. This stage is supposed to be able to get us from Venus to Earth. So what I'm going to do is just test it going from Earth to Venus. So let's see if this rocket will go from Earth to Venus. Turn on the engine and ignition. So as you can see, the rocket actually has a really good thrust to weight, and I'm fairly confident that it will make it to Venus. And now we're just about to reach the Karaman line. I'm going to speed up the timing. And we've reached the Karaman line. Now we just time warp to over here. And now we're doing our orbital burn. And once we're done with it, we should be in full orbit. But before we complete our orbital burn, we're going to have to stage our rocket. Okay, so now that we've gone into a low Earth orbit, we can go outside of here and go click on Venus, click navigate to, and wait till Earth is in the transfer window over here. Okay, Earth is now in the transfer window over here, and then we're going to get another smaller transfer window on around the Earth orbit that we've created ourselves. There. Over here it says that we need to accelerate by 700 meters per second. So let's just start our burn and we'll do that. Okay, 60 meters per second left and we've overshot it. But that's fine because we'll use RCS to correct our mistake. Now that we have an encounter with Venus, we'll zoom in on Venus itself and try to get this line as close as possible to Venus. And then we'll just time warp to this location right here. And over here you can see our spaceship, how it is traveling through and around until it rendezvous, in a way, with Venus. And now we're coming in heavily towards Venus. So I'll go in a little bit further. As it stands, we're going to miss Venus completely because we're 600 kilometers above the surface of it. So what we will do is we'll just do a entry burn, so this line gets inside of the atmosphere of Venus, and if we succeed in doing that, we can detach our bottom stage and land properly. So I'm gonna have to time warp another time right here and do the same around again, burning retrograde, so this goes into the atmosphere, and that is exactly what we wanted. Now let's just time warp a bit closer to Venus and do the same thing again and use up all the fuel in our booster stage, our last stage. Now that we have out of fuel, we just detach this and time warp until we're into the atmosphere. And there we go. Now we're in the atmosphere of Venus and we're starting to burn up. And now we're below 2,500 meters, so I will deploy our parachute. And now at 250 meters, our parachute fully deploys out, and we can very closely see the surface and where exactly we're gonna land. Touchdown. Okay, so we have gotten Venus landing. So that means that I'm gonna revert to build, and that means that this rocket is capable of getting, or capable to getting from Venus to Earth. Now we need to build a rocket around it and a system that where it won't burn up in the atmosphere. And here the rocket is. I think that hopefully this rocket will get us to Venus and will have enough thrust and power to get us to Venus. Now before we start, I'm just going to stage the rocket really quickly. And now that the staging is done, we can go ahead and do our mission. Mission control, ignition, and stage. And soon we're going to be inside of the outside of the atmosphere, and we just passed the Kármán line. Our central stage is out of fuel, but that is fine because we have 6 SRBs that have 25% fuel inside of them. Now we'll time warp. And hopefully this burn will get us close to a orbit. Now that we've reached low Earth orbit, we go over to the Venus stage, we click navigate to, and we need to get Earth to this transfer window. And now the Earth has reached this transfer window that we were talking about, and now we can get our spaceship to go to this transfer window, which is in the our orbit itself. And once we get to our orbit, it says that we have to increase our speed by 727 meters per second. So we will promptly do that. And now we have just a little bit left. We now have an encounter with Venus, as this is 0 meters per second. So we will pan back over to Venus. And as you can see, we'll just use our RCS thrust to set up the transfer window exactly how we want it, and then we will transfer our right there. What we're doing now is we are trying to come closer to Venus and then slow down as much as possible with this secondary stage, with this big stage. And now we came close to Venus, and we're trying to burn off all of our fuel and reduce our speed as much as possible. And we're currently going into the atmosphere as it stands. We're going to try and get closer to Venus's atmosphere to amplify our effect of slowing down. And that's good. Perfect. And we can detach this stage right here and speed up time until we reach the atmosphere of Venus. So now it's about time to deploy our parachutes. We will also deploy our gear, our landing gear, and we'll slowly commence landing procedures. We're landing on this nice little crater and fully extended. Parachutes are now done. So I'm going to detach my parachute, open my landing legs back up, and try to land in a safe spot where we will not be on a slope. And touchdown! We have successfully landed on the surface of Venus. Now, we have used a bunch of fuel up in this landing procedure, so it's going to be quite tricky to see if we're actually going to be able to take off and make it back to Earth. But we'll sure give it a shot. So, why don't we just take off? Okay. And hopefully we'll reach outside of Venus's atmosphere. And here is Venus orbit, low Venus orbit. And now we pan over back to Earth. Click navigate to, wait until Venus is at this point, so we'll just speed up time until Venus is at the transfer window. Boom! Venus has the transfer window, and now we will go onto Venus. And Venus and our orbit around Venus itself also has a window. And with 30% fuel, this is going to be very, very close. Oh, okay. It's less stressing than I thought we would need, because I thought we weren't gonna make it at all, but turns out that we're actually going to have leftover fuel. So I'm very thankful for that. We had a really nice stage right here. So now let's fix up the orbit around the Earth. That's just about perfect, and then we'll time warp into here. Hopefully we won't meet the moon, just barely passing by the sphere of influence of the moon, and then we can use our engines to slow down as much as possible. And we are inside the sphere of influence of the Earth, so let's slow down. Let's try and slow down again as much as possible before we commit our entry. Now it's the last stage. Detach this. And now we can time warp until we hit the atmosphere. And the parachute fully opened out. 100 meters. And 3, 2, 1. Yes! Okay. Now let's check out our achievements. And here it is. Land on Venus' surface and then ascend to the thick atmosphere and return safely. Whoever you are, thank you for finishing the video, and please hit the like and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to get notified of any of my new videos.